All right, howdy, folks. Very special video here from Top Comics Pressing. Today we are lucky enough to hold in our hands a raw copy of X-Men #1, Stan Lee, Jack Kirby goodness in its full grandeur. So this comic is coming to me for some work, and it's in pretty good overall shape. So I'm just going to scan it really close. You can see up there it's got some corner wear. It's got a nice spine tick right across Jean Grey. As we kind of scroll across here, you can see that there is some creasing, and that's because the inner pages are just a little bit shorter than the cover. And so, all it took was somebody putting something on the top of there to kind of fold that cover on over. But this corner looks really nice overall. Some very light marble chipping, but nothing compared to, what severe marble chipping looks like. Almost imperceptible, really. Some light creasing here by Iceman. You can see it right there. A little bit of corner wear here and some creasing and some bottom edge wear across the bottom. And then to match the other corner on top, we got some corner damage down here. And as you kind of scroll up here, you can see that there is some creasing and a very little bit of staple wear, but I don't think anything too alarming. You can see that there is some spine damage and some spine wear. And, we have that up here as well. Kind of right in that area. So overall, very nice copy. The colors on this thing are absolutely incredible when you open it on up. Maybe off-white white, but very nice, very good looking. Not, if you look under the covers, very little bit of tanning on the interior covers, but again, nothing compared to some early Silver Age comics that clearly show, a full burnt gradient. So all in all, very nice. The biggest defects on this thing, unfortunately, are going to be on the back. So right here we have a pretty big tear. And then really the grade killer here is a diagonal crease right there. And so that thing is going to, just that crease alone is probably going to drop you to a 6.65. At that 6.5, some of the light tearing, so you can see right here that there's a little bit of tearing down there, right there. Some of that stuff won't be as huge of a deal, the edge creasing. There's a little bit of light foxing right here, so you can see those kind of orange rust splotches in there, so that's the foxing. And there's a very little bit of super light staining right there. So nothing too crazy. All in all, though, for an early Silver Age book, this thing is in great shape. Yeah, you can see a little bit more of the light foxing right kind of in there. So nothing too bad, but it's definitely there and it's definitely real. So I think this copy is going to come in probably about a CGC 6. At least that's my guess after giving it a good look over. The major defect I think is going to be this back cover crease. I think the very light foxing won't affect the grade at all, so we're not even going to worry about that. I mean, it's there, it's real, but I don't think it's worth messing with. The spine tick lines, on a book like this with that crease are not really going to affect it at all. This to me looks like a fine copy, maybe fine plus if you're being very generous, on some of the other defects. And not really pinging those too much. But unfortunately, that big back cover crease is going to be the limiting one. All I'm going to recommend for this book is a dry clean and then a press. And so I'm going to go snap some pictures of this under the bright light, and then we'll come on back and do some erasing. All right, here we are, folks. Time to get erasing on this copy of X-Men #1. And I'm going to start very gently here down by Magneto. And again, I'm really just looking for dirt that I think will be removable. And I'm not going to do a whole lot. A lot of what you're seeing there is discoloring or cream colorness, or that splotching is very light foxing. Or just kind of the fibers and the pigment of this nice old beautiful paper. But I mean, this purple is just gorgeous down here. It's quite vibrant. The Magneto red is quite vibrant. All the color up here in the X-Men is really quite vibrant. So not much that I think we need to do, though, in terms of dry cleaning, at least the front. The back cover, as is typical, has a little bit more to work on. We're just going to take our sweet time here on this comic book. Definitely gonna just try to do slow and steady. And I am getting crud off, so I did clean this eraser before we started, and you can kind of see that crud on there. So again, I'm not pushing down, I'm just letting the eraser kind of slide and glide. As I get down to the edge here, I'm gonna use my fingers kind of splayed to stabilize the paper. Especially by that marble chipping, you know, you don't want to hit a chip on the sideways and kind of knock it into a bigger piece. You also want to make smaller motions so you don't accidentally get a wave of paper and then crack the paper because it's kind of lifting up into a bigger wave. So I've done that on an early Golden Age book in my earlier days of doing this, and I remember doing it because of course it was tragic. It ended up not, I don't think, affecting the actual grade that much. But, you know, at least every time I damage a comic book, it kind of sticks with me as a horror story or a bad memory. So try to pass those along. It has happened. Definitely one of the most popular early Silver Age books out there. It's true grail for a lot of true believers. Rightfully so. Introduction of, I think, one of Marvel's greatest villains, but also one of the greatest teams, longest running superhero teams for sure. One that I think a lot of people can relate to. There's an X-Men character for everybody. It's part of what makes them awesome. Again, you can't see it, but I'm just rubbing my eraser off camera to try to clean that fouling off of it to make sure I'm starting at a fresh spot every time. And, you know, we're still getting a little bit up off there. So it does look like there's a little bit of run here on the "the." I haven't cleaned that yet, so I'm just going to try to go around it. Definitely in a book like this, I think less is more. This is already a pretty nice copy. It doesn't have a whole lot of grossness associated with it. You know, it's not like we're trying to take it from being fully trashed to something somebody might want. Alright, this top edge, I don't see a lot of dirt, and given the damage already there, we're just going to leave that as is. I don't see anything that's, you know, super obviously in need of a clean. So that should be just fine left kind of as it is. We're on a back cover, and as always, I'm going to start right down the spine. That's usually where you get your most dirt. Especially because we can see that tear down at the bottom corner. I'm going much slower, and I'm going to stay away from the tear. I'm just going to put my finger right over it just to make sure I don't accidentally snag it. And if that means we leave a little bit of dirt around it, I'm okay with that, because what I don't want to do is make that tear any bigger. Good amount of dirt right in this white space there. Back covers. Definitely always feel bad when I find a major defect on a back cover for somebody. Alright, same thing with this tear here. I'm just going to cover it with my finger and then kind of go around it. Just making sure I don't accidentally snag that tear and make it worse. We can't undamage the paper or undo that crease, but we can make it a little bit less noticeable by erasing down it. We're gonna CGC is still gonna 100% flag it because it's pretty deep. Normally on corners I go to the eraser sheets, but this one I'm not going to. I'm just gonna kind of ignore the very, very tip of the corner. Super light over all the text, and again, I'm just trying to get what I can. No point in overdoing it. In general, it's quite nice. Again, I'm resisting the urge to go fast and make broad motions. Really want to because you can get away with it on moderns, but on this book we're just going to go slow and steady. Much, much slower. Chip up here, we're going to leave some dirt around as well. Put my finger over that. Dirt on this comic has a weird green hue. Every time I look at the eraser tip, it is kind of an odd olive drab green color. I'm not used to that. Alright, we're at the home stretch here. Especially right up here, there's some nice dirt to clean off there. Alright, I think that's about it on this one. Like I said, it was pretty clean to start with, and I don't really see a reason to push it. Oh, there's a little bit here by the staple. Alright, so this thing's going to go in for a press. I'm hoping to do it in just one, especially on a book like this that has that crease. You know, very little bit of light bending or something's not going to move the grade in a meaningful way. And so, really we're going to try to do it in a single press. I'm going to give it a healthy dose, but not too much humidity. And then we're going to give it a silver edge press, backing board at centerfold, 65-pound cardstock under the cover, and the staples to me look good and they're in a decent spot, so I don't see a reason to do anything to try to protect them or buffer them any more than, you know, just a normal press. There is a little bit of a staple tear and a little bit of sunkenness at the top staple, so we want to make sure we support it pretty good from the centerfold. You can see the bottom staple is a little recessed too, so if I hold that like so, you can see it. There's a little bit of a C shape, you know, you can't really see the staple. It's wedged in there pretty deep, so a little bit of staple recessed. So we're going to make sure we get our buffer in there, and then you know, we're going to do it at 155. That temperature is climate and season dependent, but right now it's springtime in Indiana, so that should be good. And 15 minutes, 12-hour cool down, and we'll take a peek at it when we come back. All right, howdy folks. This thing is fresh out of the press, and it's looking good. It's looking really good. I mean, anything that is a bend has come out. It's essentially perfectly flat. Although, you know, it's never perfectly flat because of the space for the staples. So there's kind of a little gap in there, but, you know, it's quite smooth. It doesn't have any lift on the bottom corner. It looks epically fantastic. The back cover crease is still there, as you'd expect for a good solid color break, but this thing is ready for send-off, as it were. Somebody had asked my other video to have me show how I put this in the second outer bag. The only real consideration is the flap, and I put the flap going into the next bag, and the reason for that is that way the directionality of the plastic, you know, kind of pulls the flap snug. If you drop the bag in this way, there's always a chance you'll catch that flap. So I kind of do it that way. Let me just get this one ready. Flip on over the X-Men book here, and then just gently slide it on in there. And between these two full back boards, this thing should be nice and secure for its trip into carbonite. Always use 2 pieces of Frogger tape or painter's tape, and again, I can't tell you how much I really like having this stuff. The clear cellophane packing tape is about the worst thing you can use on the interior of a package because it's hard to see, it's quite sticky, and it doesn't come off very well for most packing materials. Painting tape, though, really easy to tear, really easy to see where it's at, and it peels off. So this thing is now thoroughly protected, and hopefully we'll see what becomes of it. I think I said I was hoping for a 6.0-ish on the range there, so at least that's my guess. All right, true believers, CGC has rendered a verdict on this copy of X-Men #1 from 1963. 5.5. So this one came out quite nice. I was a little surprised by the off-white pages. To me, those looked a little bit brighter than that. I was guessing off-white white, but, you know, that's how it goes. In general, I think this one turned out in the grade range we were kind of predicting, and you know, we can always hope or wish for a slightly higher grade, but I think 5.5 is pretty fair for this book given that back cover damage. And, you know, it's a really, really sharp copy. So this is one of the true Silver Age grails for a lot of people, and a 5.5 is no joke for that book. So congratulations to the owner. That one is pretty slick. So hopefully you've enjoyed the video here. What I would encourage you to do is click that like button, that thumbs up that's right down below. Click the subscribe button right next to that. Share the content with a friend, and of course, stay tuned and keep on you know, striving to improve your own pressing or your own collections. So take care, everybody.